Hello, welcome everybody. First time listening. This is O-Tōkushō. It's anime and manga podcast made performed by myself, Jack,
and me, Alex.
So today we're going to start off with just a brief little news segment before we go into, the juicy bits and talk about the anime and manga.
And I'll be taking over that news segment now. Pretty uninteresting week this week, mostly because the Olympics are still wrapping up, so there's obviously not a whole lot of news going on. But the first piece of news, Komi Can't Communicate, the TV series has gotten its first PV and a release date for October 6th, 2021.
Oh, cool.
I've heard a little bit about the series, mostly just from discussions I've heard on the internet about the main character, but it seems like a pretty interesting slice of life piece.
I mean, you gotta appreciate a good slice of life.
Oh yeah, for sure. A PV for World Trigger Season 3 was released, and it seems like its release date will be October 9th of this year.
How long have we been waiting for a Season 3 on this? I don't actually remember, because I remember reading World Trigger a really long time ago.
Well, I'm not too familiar with the show, but moving on. Trailer for Star Wars Visions has recently dropped. It seems pretty interesting so far, and it'll start streaming on September 22nd of this year. Seems like they have a lot of really good studios backing it, too.
Oh, actually, I looked at the World Trigger thing.
Yeah?
The first season of the anime was released in, 2014. And, yeah, I know. And the second season didn't get released all the way until 2021.
Wow.
So they're just churning out the seasons now, I guess.
I guess so.
Jeez, they tapped into something from 2014.
Yeah, no kidding.
Huh. I mean, it's a good story.
Yeah, I'm just not familiar with it, I guess. On to the last piece of news. JoJolion has finally ended.
Oh boy, yeah.
10 years, man. It's really taking its time on this one. And there's a tentative title right now for Part 9, JoJo Lands.
Oh, okay. That could mean literally anything.
Yeah, no kidding.
Jesus. It's like a blank check.
I mean, to be fair, most of his titles are blank checks. But he'll be on a short break, and then he'll continue on with Part 9.
And his brief breaks are actually brief.
If only that was the standard.
Right? Ugh, if only.
And finally, on to some real-world news, just to give some more context to where we are at in time. OnlyFans has decided to cut not safe for work content from its site, only allowing very specific types of tasteful nudes, which really doesn't make any sense as a business model.
Which seems so opposite of what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
I get... It's like if Pornhub was trying not to be about porn. It's like, come on. We know what it's about.
Yeah, or if Viz just all of a sudden was like, I'm tired of this whole manga thing. Let's move on to Korean webtoons, you know?
Yeah. Something slightly adjacent. It's like, we've never been interested in actual manga, please.
Yeah, we're just trying to, make our site more serious now. Jeez.
Yeah, the line between tasteful nudity and softcore pornography is, very thin.
Yeah. This whole thing just seems like it's going to be a death spiral for the company. I mean, I don't know, if personal trainers and chefs can really keep the whole thing going, because they're definitely going to go bankrupt.
I mean, I'd hope so. The site really does need to take some type of, repercussions for this. And if it's hard enough, they'll decide to change it back. Or, someone else will open a different site and have it make, $3 billion in 2 years.
Yeah, no kidding. I've already started seeing some alternative creators talk about different sites. I think Fansly was one of them. I don't know. That whole thing is not really my expertise.
But that only makes me think of Ainsley.
Yeah.
I know that it's, actually serious and causing people to lose some of their livelihoods, but I'm only thinking of the Titanic sinking, but the ship just has a big pair of boobs.
Oh, man. That would be better.
I don't think it could have sunk with that, actually.
Yeah, no.
Too buoyant.
Super buoyant. But that'll wrap up our news segment for this week. And now on to the next one, which we decided at the beginning of this week to take a volume of a manga and review it. So, would you like to go first, Jack?
Oh, I got an old classic that I completely forgot about after reading it and finishing it. It's Claymore.
Well then, would you like to go into detail describing it for us, Jack?
Oh, yes, please. Okay, so because we were reading by volumes, I had to read just the first one, right? Which I tend to find difficult because I like to binge read stuff, especially manga.
Sure.
It's a little bit easier not to binge read with actual books because, you will die. It takes too much time. But with Claymore, the first volume's actually the shortest one.
Really?
So volume 1 only has 4 chapters in it.
No kidding, huh?
It's like a very, very short volume. Yeah, I know, right? Volume 2 has like 5, and I think that's the gold standard past that point, is that Claymore just is 5 chapter volumes.
Right, okay.
Which is pretty short, all things considered, but they're decently long chapters.
Alright.
So volume 1, obviously, is just setting up the whole, premise of the manga, and it's good. It's good enough for you to be interested in actually reading the rest of it. Like, out of all the first volumes that I've read for a manga that's like really gripped your attention, I'd say it's like a 7 out of 10. An example of a 10 out of 10, just to give context for this, I guess, that comes to mind would be like Promised Neverland. So I know there's like mixed feelings on the anime adaptation for Promised Neverland, but if you ever get a chance to read the manga though, it's some good shit for like most of it. The ending gets kind of ridiculous, but that's just the way manga tends to go. But the beginning is so good. Like, you cannot stop reading it until like 80% of it is done. And then it gets confusing. You're like, okay, I might be able to actually eat food again. But for Claymore, the beginning is pretty good, right? It gets you into the world. We get introduced to like the central conflict. You got humans coexisting with monsters called Yoma, which I have criticisms for. I'll get into that as I talk about the stuff here. But we're introduced to 2 actual characters. I say actual because everyone else either gets eaten or is just like a random old man that we never talk about ever again. So we learn about a boy, just random protagonist boy. He's dressed about as protagonist as you can get compared to the rest of the villagers. It's very funny. Yeah. Everyone else is just wearing like basic shirts and like maybe like a pair of pants or like shorts, but this guy's got like ankle and wrist wraps. He has like these protagonist shoes that are always laceless for whatever reason in this particular like genre of manga. He has like a shiny collar on his shirt. He has basically like pseudo pauldrons. He just looks like a Dragon Quest character. And we are introduced to this boy, Rocky. I think it's Rocky. And his brother Zaki. Zaki's not a main character, obviously, but we're introduced to both of them at the same time. We're actually introduced to Zaki first, so it's a bit of a bait and switch. You're like, oh, this guy seems reasonable. He's the only person that's been talking about anything, and we've actually been like focusing on him. Zaki is not the main character.
Oh, okay.
Spoiler warning for anyone who actually cares about a manga that's this old, but Zaki's the actual like first antagonist of the series. He's a Yoma, and he introduces the concept of Yomas being able to transform into humans. So Yomas look basically like humans. The main difference is the fact that they're slightly balding and have like a lot of veins in their forehead, and they have sharp teeth. That's basically it. Like it's a very simple design for a monster to begin with. I remember how the series ends, and it gets a lot more complicated. But it starts off as a really simple design for a monster. It's almost like the dichotomy between werewolves and people, right? The scary part of a werewolf is the fact that it could be anyone, and unless they transform, you have no idea who it is. So it sets up like this slight psychological aspect to the manga that it never actually really picks up on, unfortunately. But it does set up the slight psychological aspect of there's a paranoia amongst like the people in this world, because Yomas could be anywhere and anyone, and they just eat people. Like there's no special thing about them. They're just a way to die, and you don't know where they're coming from, and you don't know who to trust. So there's a little bit of paranoia all over the place.
I bet.
So the village that we're introduced to with Zaki and Raki have a Yoma in it now. We learned that like 3 people have died or whatever within the last couple days, and they know who's done it because Yoma like characteristically kill a person and eat their intestines. I don't know why they prefer the intestines, but that's what they go for. And there's just a lot of corpses in town that have intestines ripped out. They're like, oh, okay, it's obviously a Yoma. They've been eating us. We should hire a Claymore. Oh. So we learned that Claymores have some very important characteristic traits. For one thing, they're all female, as far as we're introduced, and that they're half Yoma. So the abilities that Claymores have are relevant to the fact that they're half monster. The manga likes to say this a lot, that they're half monster, and then they get creative with playing around with monster means, but they're half Yoma, right, which gives them all the abilities a Yoma has, which just roughly translates to super strength and like regeneration abilities. And the fact that they're half Yoma allows them to actually fight against these creatures. Now, I still don't understand why people don't just use guns, right? Or like some more sophisticated technology. I think I remember later in the series that we do find out that guns and cannons and shit exist in this world.
Oh.
But maybe they can't use them because Yoma are just too fast for them to react to. It's kind of hard to tell in the beginning. So we're led to believe, though, that Claymores are the only real defense that humanity has against these Yoma.
Okay.
And apparently that Yoma have been, like, hunting humanity since the beginning of time, which is where I come to my first complaint about, like, the creatures in this series. So we learned that Yoma, right, through the Claymore, we learn traits about the Yoma because they're half Yoma. So anything that they have that's not human would obviously be Yoma. So we learned that Yomas don't need to eat more than, like, a couple grams of food every day to survive, and they can go for multiple days at a time without eating and suffering no consequences. They need virtually no water, they have incredible levels of stamina, and of course they have fucking super strength and super speed, right? But if that's the case, why are these Yoma eating people multiple times within a week? They don't need that much food. Like, are they just crazy now? Like, did they decide, oh, we're just gonna eat people like nobody's business? Like so Zaki, the false brother of Raki, tells him that he came to the village and killed Raki's parents, which is why Raki's so interested in Claymore in the first place. He wants kind of like secondhand revenge to watch these Yoma die, and so he learns from his false brother, who was replaced by the Yoma that ate him, that they've been hunting them since the beginning of time, and that humans are meant to be their food, right? Well, if humans are meant to be their food, how is that sustainable? Because if you eat, like, one person every day, as, like, a single Yoma, because we find out there's a lot of these guys, so if there's a single Yoma that eats a person every single day, you might run out of people. Because it takes a while for people to grow up, and it takes a while for us to reproduce. Like, you'd have to go through so many people before a baby is born. And a baby's not going to give you enough, like, sustenance to sustain yourself. Because they seem to only like to eat adults, because they have the quote-unquote tastiest guts. So, like, I'm thinking of this, obviously, in a scientific way, which I shouldn't be, because it's, a manga.
Right.
But just logistically, how are these creatures able to keep themselves sustained if they just keep eating like crazy? Like, in the 3rd chapter, we have the main protagonist that we learn about now, because we got another bait and switch, and it turns out Raki's not even the main protagonist. He's technically a secondary protagonist, because the main protagonist is a Claymore that comes into town. So we follow
shit.
Yeah, I know. So we follow this Claymore to this other town in, like, the 3rd chapter, and this town has, like, 5 Yoma in it. And they've eaten 27 people within, like, the last month. That's almost a person a day. That is a person a day, depending on what month it is. Like, that's crazy. And they're just doing this just because they want to or something. I don't know. That's like the introduction to the series. So we learned about the monsters, we learned about the people, and then we learned about the mythos and the actual representatives of the Claymore organization or whatever. And it's really cool. It was a good volume. Not perfect or anything, but sets up the world good enough for basically anyone who reads it to actually want to read the rest. One last thing about like the actual art of Claymore. If you look at the art in Claymore, the first couple of volumes before the manga really gets into his own style, the first volume of Claymore, it looks suspiciously like Berserk.
Yeah,
it's very of its time because this type of story was around a lot when it was released, and the art style is even reminiscent of that period of manga as well. So it does look a lot like the first parts of Berserk, and you can kind of just tell that the mangaka had like an idea in mind of what they wanted like the character designs to be, because the Claymores all look fantastic, but most of the background characters kind of look hideous. Which actually also falls in line with like OG Berserk. Most of the just random like villagers and stuff look pretty gross. And everyone in this manga has gigantic foreheads. Like, holy shit, their foreheads are huge. And of course, their heads are also like the shapes of potatoes. Like, it doesn't look very good. But it gets much better as the series goes on. If you look at like the painted portraits that they have in the manga for for Claire, it looks so close to the painted like covers for Berserk, where it's just like you just see what's his name, Falcon Boy,
Griffith.
Betrayed the rest of Griffith. So it looks like the portraits that are drawn for like Griffith and stuff. It has a very similar style to it, and it just reminded me of that while I was reading it.
Yeah, I could definitely see the Griffith comparisons there. I just googled some images of Claymore, and yeah, I could definitely see it. Well, moving on from guys that look like girls to girls that look like girls is my manga series, Skip-Beat. I have a embarrassingly low amount of things to say about this series. It's my introduction to the whole shoujo genre, I suppose.
Oh, you've never read any other shoujo before this at all?
Yeah, none at all.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this was my sort of introduction to the very unique way that shoujo artists draw people with their proportions.
Oh, yeah. Popsicle sticks and like porcelain doll faces. Yeah.
The yaoi hands and legs, proportions like One Piece characters.
Yeah. It's they're long and thin, and heaven forbid any of them have even an ounce of muscle.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like even the buff characters in them are. It's just not. It just doesn't even count, man.
Like a stiff breeze is gonna knock them over. It's crazy. But the series itself is about one Kyoko Mogami and her childhood friend Sho, who's become an idol of sorts, and her quest to get revenge on him for kind of leaving her in the dust, as it were. And she's trying to get more popular than he is, because that's the only thing Sho really seems to care about.
Just to get by.
Yeah. The whole thing is very, it's not really my cup of tea, to be honest, but, yeah. I didn't have a whole lot to say about, my experience with Skip-Beat. The expressions and some of the other stuff were, like, pretty interesting, but other than that, I don't really have, too much to say. I guess the main character is like in like an interesting twist on like the shonen protagonist I'm used to, where she's very like she goes like in an incredibly quick heel turn into like from being obsessed with this dude to like okay, fuck this guy, which is it's pretty funny, but yeah, that's about all I have to say about Skip-Beat.
So it sounds about as of a slow burn as many shoujos that I've read. The first shoujo I read, and I'm not entirely sure this counts as a shoujo, but I think it does, is Pretty Face.
Well,
So Pretty Face is not for everybody, and it's definitely at least PG-13, depending on where you are. Most likely R-rated, just because there's a lot of nudity. But like, from what I can remember from that, and like Ichigo 100% and Tsubasa, and of course Sailor Moon and all these other like shoujo ones, the stories tend to start pretty slow. And the plot progression doesn't really kick up pace until like halfway into it, and it's satisfying, right? Because it's such a slow burn that the payoff is nice. But I don't know. I guess you can just call me a boy, right? I prefer the shonen. I prefer the fast-paced, really just kind of convoluted storytelling that goes through with that. But I mean, we both the boys, right? We fall under that category pretty hard.
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's interesting for you to dip your toes into shoujo for the first time.
And it was certainly an interesting experience, to say the least. Definitely not something that I was used to, but I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'll try and dip my toes in again if the need calls for it, but I don't think I'll be seeking out any other shoujo series besides this one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it broadens your experience, right? That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So I looked it up, and the first volume for Skip-Beat has 5 chapters.
Oh.
And it would appear that not much shit happens in 5 chapters.
Well, yeah, it certainly doesn't. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we still know why it's called Skip-Beat yet?
No, I found nothing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just because Claymore introduces its like the name and the themes about it like immediately. You get it in the first like I think 4 sentences of the manga. It's like, oh, so that's why it's called Claymore. It's about these people who are called Claymores. All right, that makes sense. I mean, to be fair, I still don't know why Bleach is called Bleach. So sometimes the name of a manga just doesn't even matter.
Yeah, like I'm still wondering about this whole Naruto thing. Like, what's up with that name?
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's really just escaped me until now.
Yeah, why would a manga called Naruto about Naruto be called Naruto?
Exactly.
So
See,
weird.
you get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I'm currently
The clappies?
recording, and we are going to clap sync in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, that should work.
Yep. So, speaking of Naruto and Bleach and shonen series in general, today's topic is going to be shonen tie-in movies or anime tie-in movies, and what sort of makes them similar, what makes them different, highlights, lowlights, what have you.
So, I won't be able to help you much with this, really, because the only experience I have with anime movies, specifically shonen ones like this, are with Naruto, Dragon Ball, and One Piece. And that's basically it. Like, I've seen one of the Bleach movies, but,
Yeah, I mean, I have a similar sort of experience. I've seen maybe, some My Hero movies and stuff like that, but it's not really important the amount of movies that we see. It's more that, I feel like when you really look into it, the patterns all sort of mesh together no matter what movies you see.
Yeah, it's a situation where if you've seen one, you've kind of seen them all.
Yeah. Very, very similar plots in all anime movies.
Yeah.
It starts with like some kind of vacation or a mission in some cases. And then like 10 or 15 minutes in, you usually meet the villains. And they kind of they do a bad thing, and then after that, the heroes meet the villains, and then they lose a fight against them. Very, very bad fight. It's usually because the heroes don't know what their abilities are.
Yeah, the abilities are specifically really OP.
Or very counter to what they have.
Yeah. I mean, there's like occasion where they meet the antagonist like really early in the movie, and it's revealed that they're the antagonist later. But
yeah, true. There is the occasional double crossing or secret antagonists.
Yeah. The twist antagonists.
Right. I know the one Bleach movie that I saw. There was a guy in the beginning who was helping them, and then at the end he turned out to be the main bad guy. I kind of skimmed that movie though,
no, that's fine. That plot point in Bleach in particular is actually kind of funny, just because one of the main characters in the actual series is just a twist villain. Aizen is one of the biggest villains in the series, and he's like a twist villain. Like, oh, he was helping us for like this entire first arc, and he seems pretty cool, and then he's actually just like an evil mastermind.
Yeah.
It happens.
The fucking 600 IQ like 4D chess mastermind. I've heard about him.
Yeah, that's all he's really known for. He's the but I've actually planned for this type of guy.
Yeah.
He's like Orochimaru is more competent.
Yeah, and usually after the heroes lose their first fight, sometimes their second fight, they make a plan and they get all kitted up and they have like new outfits and stuff, and then they fight, and then like the three strongest characters fight the three other strongest characters, and the heroes win, and then nothing's really lost or gained from that encounter.
The only exception to that might be that like a character uses a technique or something that actually holds over into the show.
Yeah.
Like with like the pseudo Super Saiyan transformation and like the first iteration of the I don't even remember what people call the red version of the Rasengan, but like like the movie's like just throwing in a technique that technically doesn't exist yet, but they're like, it's close enough, you can do it. Oh, it was the Gear Second thing was the other one I was thinking of with Luffy.
Yeah, in Clockwork Island, yeah.
Not really a spoiler, but like kind of a spoiler.
Well, I think it already happened in the manga at the time, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so like if you were an anime viewer, you'd be like, what the hell is this? And if you're a manga person, like, also, what the hell is this? But for different reasons.
Yeah, the reason why Goku's hair doesn't turn gold in Lord Slug when he goes like Proto Super Saiyan is because I'm pretty sure it's because the movie, like the production studio didn't have like a colored version of Super Saiyan Goku.
Which is very funny because the colored version is basically them avoiding color as best they can.
Yeah,
like
it's.
They did it so they didn't have to color his hair in anymore. But the proto version they used in the movie still has black hair. Like they could have just made it white. That would have been. Could you imagine how dope that would have been during the Lord Slug movie? That Goku goes Proto Super Saiyan and his hair's just bleached white. That'd be so cool.
So many like Super Saiyan 10 fanfics have just appeared in my head.
Like 85, like Super Saiyan Beyond level 75 G or something stupid. Yeah, it. Oh god, I actually remember the phase of my life where I actually read those. There were so many. They were all so bad.
Yeah. Speaking of Lord Slug, this is actually a revelation that came about through Team 4-Star of all people. Was that I noticed this too with other movies besides Dragon Ball ones, but it's very apparent in Dragon Ball movies. There's always like 2 to 3 henchmen that follow a very specific pattern. The pretty one or the cool one.
Interchangeable or both.
Yeah. The big dumb stupid one.
Always included. Sometimes there's more than one.
Exactly. And the creepy one with weird powers.
That one actually shows up the most. And sometimes all 3 happen to also just be creepy and have weird powers.
Or they all happen to just be really dumb and stupid.
Yeah.
Take your pick.
Right? Like, you can't really go wrong with that, because they're henchmen, right? They're disposable. Like, they're super disposable, actually, because they're not even going to be in the real series. So, the movies have complete license to just straight up murder them. And if you look at Dragon Ball movies, holy crap do they go with that license. They horrifically murdered the henchmen. Goku goes ham on the henchmen in these movies. It's nuts. But then again, it's mostly because they're weaker and are replaceable.
Exactly. What else? We already discussed, like, new finisher moves or
just
something like that.
Suddenly. Yeah.
Funnily enough, with, like, new moves that, like, show up in, like, One Piece movies, they do, like, transition some of them to, like, the Pirate Warriors games.
Oh, yeah, regardless of their canonicity. Mostly because they just look really cool, you know?
Yeah, like, I know, Zoro's, like, Blue Dragon Flowing Water is, like, one of his special moves in Pirate Warriors 3.
And he never does that in the series. He doesn't even do anything like close to it. Yeah.
No. Speaking of what's canon or not, you've set me up for a segue very nicely, Jack. I appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome.
Like, what is really canon in movies? We know that, like, the stories themselves aren't canon. Like, Luffy doesn't actually meet
Shiki or Bullet
or Admiral Zephyr or any of that stuff. But, like,
the characters are technically canon because we learned that, you know, Bullet and Shiki are actually, like, real.
Yeah, they're both all canon, but do the things that happen in the movie, like, could the characters do that outside of the movie?
Yeah, like the feats and stuff specifically, because when you're not talking about the feats and just, like, the canonicity of a movie, it's really up in the air. Because, like, okay, so these movies come in, like, 3 different categories when it comes to canonicity. Sometimes they're completely uncanon. Everything in it is bullshit and made up, and, like, the author doesn't even know that they're making it. It's just like, oh, this is our property. We're just gonna make a movie where, like, the main character is just, for whatever reason, like, has to fight Satan or something. But the other category after that would be ones that are partially canon, like the One Piece ones, where you have characters or techniques that are introduced that actually carry over into the overarching plot. But, like, the weird, like, unicorn, magical, like, elusive category are the ones that are completely canon. And those are weird. Like, they're not supposed to really exist. The only examples that I can actually, like, definitively think about are Naruto. There's just 2 Naruto movies that are actually just straight up canon. And, like, the reason this kind of dubious is because there's another trend that these movies have where they have movies that just kind of sum up an entire arc in one movie, right?
The infamous episode of, I'm very familiar.
So that's technically, like, you know, a canon movie, but it doesn't really count because the movie came after the arc, right? And it's like an OVA version of that entire arc. But, like, with the Naruto movies that are canon, those actually came out before they were, like, animated in the show, which means it's like the reverse of that. So it's kind of odd. But there's only 2 examples of it, and it's towards the end of the series, so they might have just not cared at that point. It's
probably
very hard to tell. Yeah, well, I mean, you can tell once it went over to Boruto that the care kind of leaked out a little bit.
Oh, really? Did it?
Yeah, I don't know. We could definitely have entire arcs about capturing cats and going shopping. That seems very comparable to the original to me. I don't know.
I shudder to think of being a Boruto fan. Oh my god. Also, I'm just gonna put this out there. I'm gonna make a little announcement for all the folks at home. I'm gonna move my microphone close to my face to make a point. Don't rely on the episode of movies as a way of supplementing watching the actual series.
Especially for One Piece. Holy shit, they've committed actual crimes against their own canon with this.
It is repulsive what they do.
Like,
to Ace,
right? Like,
they don't, like,
there are straight up characters in those recap movies in particular that aren't even supposed to be there. Like, for one thing, they make up characters, right, sometimes, but also they just bring characters from later in the series into the past of the series just because it kind of looks cooler, I guess. Like, the one that really comes to mind is the episode of Drum Island one to me. Like, because Frankie and Robin are on the crew. How?
Yeah.
It's like,
before they even...
Yeah, that's like 4.5 arcs ahead. What the fuck happened?
Oh my... Imagine if Frankie was on the crew, like, before they got to Alabasta.
That would have been nuts.
Like Baroque Works wouldn't have stood a chance. But let's not get into that.
Yeah.
I also distinctly remember Wapple's brother in that movie.
Even though he doesn't really do anything outside of it, he definitely has a brother in canon. It's just that he wasn't a major thing.
Exactly.
The fact that he had a devil fruit also definitely wasn't an original thing either.
Yeah, and the episode of Skypiea is probably the worst in terms of like cutting things that like.
Oh, were important.
Yeah. They cut out almost all of Jaya and like Bellamy and his story.
Yeah.
There's no Blackbeard.
Yeah, like who's Nolan? The hell's a Godfall?
Exactly.
They don't even get to meet Pierre.
Exactly.
The best horse in the series.
But they'll still take away like half of the time to like show the entire Nolan flashback in the original animation style. Like, they don't even like.
But there's no real context to it though. That's the problem. It just
exactly.
There. Like,
it's like, oh, this is Nolan. Yeah. He was a liar, but he wasn't.
The weird guy with like a chestnut that's actually part of his skull on top of his head.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they even end the movie with like the reference to them seeing Luffy in the sky. But it doesn't matter because we didn't get the setup for why that would be important.
Exactly.
It's just like some random asshole that kind of looks like a mixture of Nolan and a gorilla. Just looks up at the sky and is like, oh, hey, it's Luffy.
Yeah.
For the feet thing though, just to get back on kind of on topic here. So for the feats done by characters in these movies, I guess the canonicity of it is really dependent on the author's involvement, right? Like with One Piece movies, because I'm familiar with them, it's pretty commonly known that Oda like puts a good amount of actual like input into these movies. Because
at least since Strong World he has.
Well, because he has to make sure now that they want the movies to be more like appealing, he has to make sure that they don't use things that he needs to use in his story, right? So they have to greenlight like powers and like antagonists and stuff, and characters that may or may not actually exist in the series. So like in that situation, the feats of the characters in the movie, even if not done in the actual show, are very likely to be canon, just because they probably had a greenlight with him.
Yeah, like Brook, like slicing through an entire army of like ants, perfectly accurate without missing like a single one,
and presumably without observation hockey either.
Yeah,
like he could just do that.
Pre-time skip.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Brook, I think, is probably like within the top echelon in the world of like swordsmen.
Yeah, he's definitely the top echelon in terms of like speed.
Yeah, he's definitely like a rapid type of guy. Zoro's more of a power and like he's the best of both worlds, right? High DPS, but also high base damage at the same time. But like Brook is just really, really high attack speed. I mean, what the first time we even learned that he could sword fight properly in the first place was Zoro getting his ass kicked by his by Brook's fighting style possessing the body of another guy.
Yeah, Ryuma.
Yeah, the legendary sword.
Yes, exactly. I wrote down notes.
Okay.
I mentioned it earlier. There like most of the time there's like new outfits for characters in movies.
Yeah.
One Piece especially does this, but
it's become more of a thing like with the later movies. The early movies they kind of just look the same. Whatever arc was popular at the time. But the newer movies, they really deck them out. They also seem to give them guns a lot.
Yeah, like
nobody in the
especially in Strong World and Film Z, they like.
Well, they gave them a lot of guns in Strong World. The Strong World outfits are hilarious with the amount of guns they give. Frankie's literally just a tank.
Yeah. But also like. I know the original 3 Naruto movies, I haven't seen the Shippuden ones because I just didn't care enough.
Yeah, it's okay. You're not really missing out on much, bro.
I do know in the first and the third movies they have different outfits because they're in winter and like
tropical,
summer climate.
Yeah. So the fact they actually bring that up is kind of cool.
I did really dig their summer outfits though.
They look cool. Yeah. I still don't understand why they don't have to wear that all the time because, Konoha, Leaf Village, it's basically just like mainland Japan, which is really hot. So like,
I don't know, it's a temperate climate, they're used to it.
So they must be going to a really, really hot place then if they think it's hot. I don't know.
I mean, like it starts in the desert,
before.
right?
It's pretty hot there. But like after they travel through the desert, they just hit like a coastal area, and they're still complaining about the heat. So I don't know. They've also been to deserts before. In the series, Naruto visits Gaara. Like they've been. He was in a tracksuit when he visited Gaara.
It makes sense to like cover up your whole body when you're in like the actual desert, I guess. I don't know.
It's a case of like just aesthetic overriding like like logic and reason. It happens all the time in anime.
Let's see here. My Hero 2 Heroes. There's a new outfits, but it's like black tie kind of.
Yeah.
It's not black. It's like fancy dress, I would say.
Yeah, but
yeah, and it's fun, because like we get to see the class 1 in like different outfits than what they're normally in, and that's it's fun. We're having fun.
The author of My Hero Academia actually likes making like big cover spreads of the students wearing different clothes all the time anyway. So,
dude, I love Horikoshi's color spreads, dude.
They're so cool. Also,
did you see that one with like the All Might mech that they were building?
It was amazing.
Oh, I want to get that framed. It's so good.
I mean, his art style is amazing, right? But like, I still think he has a similar situation to Araki, in the fact that he might have actually just been better off as like a fashion designer than an actual mangaka, because they have such good taste and style when they make this type of stuff. Like,
to be fair, Horikoshi really loves drawing non-human looking people.
He does. Like, he already shows a preference to the type of field anyway. I mean, every time we look at Best Jeanist in the manga, he's wearing something slightly different. So like, yeah, he definitely has like an itch to scratch when it comes to clothes and stuff. That and also his shoes. Oh, the shoes. Gotta love the shoes that he makes. They're so chunky and comfortable.
Weirdly though, no new outfits in Heroes Rising. I noticed.
Is it
not even like any?
Is it because
it's
like a flashback or whatever? Or wait, which one is the one with All Might as like a younger person?
That's the first one.
Oh, okay. So the newest one with Deku and Bakugo doing some bullshit at the end. That's the one where they don't change.
I don't even think they have like casual clothes, but
they're just in school uniforms. Oh, isn't it because it's a
then they're hero uniforms?
Yeah. Oh, the hero. Wait, what? Why?
I think it's because they're on patrol the whole of the island the whole time.
Oh yeah,
which does make sense because Yeah,
but they sent like a class of teenagers to take care of an entire island filled with dangerous criminals.
Oh, if you guys want to know my opinions on this movie, you should go check out my review at the Soul_Kingu on YouTube. It is very, very in depth.
There's a lot of opinions, especially about the plot. It's good. You should go see it.
Ooh, yeah. Hold on. I guess the last thing I had for movies was the soundtracks.
Yeah.
I am the kind of person who very, very much likes an anime soundtrack. Hold on just a second. Sorry about that.
Yeah, so like soundtracks with anime, when done right, it just makes or breaks it, right? Like if you see an anime that has a really bad soundtrack, it's almost as crippling as an anime with really bad animation.
Yeah, you just can't stand it.
No.
But movies often will have their own soundtracks, and some of the biggest bangers are on those soundtracks.
Yeah, yeah. Movie soundtracks for anime movies, in particular, are very good. And then sometimes
know
they
the,
just like slap on like American music to them too.
Sometimes. I know the Dragon Ball movies do that a lot.
They also do that a lot in the Digimon movies.
Yeah.
Like, but I actually love it when they do it for the Digimon movies because the music they choose for them is so funny. Like,
it's so 90s trash.
Yeah, like the music they choose for the Digimon movies could just as easily fit in like a like an early Sonic the Hedgehog game as it
or
as it could
like
in
Shrek.
any movie. Yeah, exactly. It's just that era, but it happens to be an anime movie. Like,
yeah.
Oh man, I miss the days of when Digimon was actually advertised almost as heavily as Pokemon.
The thing about some of these soundtracks is that they don't often get, like, most of the time they don't get put into the series, which is a shame.
Yeah, because it fits the series. Like, when you look at it in that, context of the movie, it's like, oh damn, this actually fits really well. Why don't they use this more? But they don't.
Like, I distinctly remember the, in Naruto Kingdom of the Crescent Moon, that one song that's, like, right at the end where, like, they're all, like,
yeah, each one of them
Lee and
fighting
Sakura
their
are
own
beating,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, it's so... Oh, dude, Lee opening his gates to the beat is... It's a kink that somebody has to have.
It's chef's kiss.
Like, it can't
for
just
sure.
be me who nuts at characters just doing things in in a movie to the beat of the songs in the movie.
Oh, for sure.
Like, actually, outside of anime, actually, have you ever seen Baby Driver?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, that's like my favorite example of the music just almost dictating exactly what happens in the movies. It's wonderful.
It's perfect. Did you know that the song that plays when the Straw Hats line up at Eddie's lobby to talk to Robin, that song comes from movie 8, I think?
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
It comes from Baron no Matsuri. Right at the end where, like, whatchamacallit, all, like, the secondary cast is like, oh, Luffy, we're here for you, Straw Hat. I got a Hitler mustache.
Yeah, yeah. Oh god, those guys. I know they call them like the toothbrush mustache crew or whatever, but like, I cannot see literally anything else.
But yeah, that's where that song comes from. Like, One Piece is, I think, it's one of the only animes that, like, keeps soundtracks from the movies.
Which is a shame, because there's a good number of the movies that have just original soundtracks too, and that's just free music. Like, shit, take it, man. Like,
not very recently, but like in one of the like the episodes that was directed by oh my god, that one like female director that has been doing really good One Piece episodes recently.
Okay.
There's a part where Big News Morgans, he punched out a cipherable agent, and it uses the fucking like sick guitar riff song from One Piece Stampede.
Wait, really? For that one punch?
Yeah, I was like, holy shit!
It's like that. Wow, that attack was a lot more intense in the anime than in the manga.
This is so sick,
right?
Yeah.
Watching Big Bird punch out a mailman.
Big good news. Yeah. Oh god, so good. But
wait, did we ever actually learn what not Big Bird, what Morgan actually is?
He is a zone user.
Oh, and he just happens to be like in his animal form all the time.
Yes, I think it might be to like control the news cues, but we don't know.
Okay. Well, because he can't be a mink because he's a feathered guy.
Exactly.
So it has to be something else, I guess. Okay.
Well, that's all I have for tie-in movies. Do you have anything? Anything else you might want to add?
Tie-in movies specifically to anime, or actually, shonen anime.
I would have like included like anime movies that are like their own thing, but I just don't have that much of like a reference on them.
Well, I mean, at that point, there's no point for a comparison because those are just independent series, right?
Yeah.
Like that's just it's like comparing It's like comparing a long-running series like The Office to the Anchorman movies. You're like,
Yeah.
I mean, I get it, that similar-ish comedy, but also they're just different things. One's like a TV show, right? And the other one's specifically meant to be a movie. So,
Yeah.
the independent movies are just actual movies. Like, them being animated, like, you know, an anime style is just coincidence.
I mean, like, you could... I guess I was just trying to clear that up, because you could technically say that, like, Tokyo Godfathers is, like, an anime movie.
Well, it definitely is. Yeah, and it's made in the style, but it's not based off of anything. Like, any long-running series, yeah. It's not a tie-in movie, then. It's still...
hence...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's basically it. As far as those.
Do you have a favorite anime movie?
Okay, so my favorite actual anime movie, and this is gonna be pushing the definition of an anime movie again, based off what we just said. My actual favorite anime movie is Ponyo. I love that movie. Ponyo is one of like the earlier movies made by like Studio Ghibli. And it's a pointless movie about a tiny goldfish human thing that's half god and just really likes a boy, ironically named Sasuke. Or it's Sosuke, but it's basically just Sasuke.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's nothing that happens in the movie. There's no high stakes or anything. It's just a feel good like children's movie. But I still really love that movie. But
I do know they got Liam Neeson in the dub of that movie, which is a pretty good.
Oh yeah, he's like the dad. Yeah.
Yeah.
The dad / eco-terrorist. Yeah. So like, outside of like that type of thing, to make it more specifically geared towards actual anime series, I'd have to say my favorite anime movie is probably the Naruto movie that you mentioned. Naruto and the Moonrise
Kingdom of the Crescent Moon?
Yeah, not Moonrise Kingdom. Kingdom of the Crescent Moon, yeah. That one's probably my favorite. It's very good.
Yeah. I'd say mine is probably Stampede. Just because it's
just the
it's
spectacle
alone. It's made just for One Piece fans.
Yeah, it's 100% like a fanboy movie.
Like don't start with that movie
No.
if you want to get into One Piece.
You'll be so confused.
But like it's like a delicious dessert once you've gotten caught up to One Piece.
Yeah, it's like fanfic heaven.
Oh,
Everything
it's perfect for that.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Not to mention that the later One Piece movies, the animation just gets better every time.
Oh yeah. All right. We're gonna cut this out in the edit, but do you think I could change my manga this week to Golden Kamuy? Because I could not find Chrono Crusade anywhere.
Like, not even online?
Yeah, no.
Jesus. Okay. Yeah, sure. We can change to the Golden Kamuy, but we'll have to pretend to spin the wheel.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's do another clap at 3, 2, 1 in order to.
Oh, on this? Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. 3, 2, 1.
Okay.
All right. So now that we're done with that, let's say we move on to our final segment, choosing our manga for the week to do a review on.
Yeah, because we finished the ones for this week. Gotta set up for the next one.
Yeah. All right. I got the wheel out, and let's spin the wheel. Wait, hold on. We probably should decide who's going first, right?
Yeah. You can go first. It's fine.
No, I'm not doing Inuyasha. All right. That was I just clicked the wheel before I decided who was going to get it.
No, it's fine.
All right. All right. And spinning. All right, Golden Kamuy for this week.
Oh, cool. All right.
I am familiar, but I have not actually read it.
That's actually the same case that I'm in. I've heard of it for like a long time, but I've never actually bothered reading it. I have heard very good reviews of it though, so you should have a good time with that.
Yeah. All right, And next up for you, spin the wheel. It's a long spin. And you got Fruits Basket.
Okay. Fruits Basket, cool. Oh god. I read this to completion a really long time ago.
How long ago do you think?
Probably a full decade, like straight up 10 years ago. And that's when I actually read more shoujo stuff. I went through a phase. It's going to be interesting going back into it. Coincidentally, Fruits Basket's actually getting, or has gotten, a continuation to the anime, just because they didn't actually like finish it legitimately. They kind of just let it be open-ended or whatever in the original anime, but they're gonna actually continue it, so that'll be cool.
Yeah, sounds like it. Well, all right, those are our series for the week, and we'll see you guys next week for the next episode of
O-Tōkushō.
I've been Alex.
I am still Jack, probably.
And we'll see you next week.
All right, bye.
Bye, everyone.